Sure.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I don't think you're ready. Okay.
No, I am. I'm ready.
Well, oh, good morning, Pat. It's still morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, Sunday, January 28th. So just Basho just wrapped up today. So January
Yeah,
2024 Basho. How are
quite
you
a quite
doing?
quite a quite a quite a boss. I'm doing great. I'm doing very well. I know we our last episode, which was the one we
Preview.
did basically, yeah, preview, did very well, and we were very excited
Yeah,
about that on YouTube. That we
yeah.
got
We went.
some new watchers.
We're going from 8, 9 views to over 100, and we have last I checked like over 12 subscribers. So if you're one of those 12,
We
welcome and thank
we
you.
appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I would just really quickly, we usually like to do a mid basho podcast.
Episode. Yeah.
However, I was sick and Sam was also a little busy. What were you doing?
Yeah, I was traveling. I was at the time I was in Kinbozan's homeland, so I went to Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan. And yeah, it turns out it's difficult to do a podcast with an 11-hour time difference plus one person is sick.
Yeah, not ideal.
So it's tough. I was hoping that me being in Kazakhstan would bring Kinbozan luck, but I don't think
Mm,
it did. I think he finished with a. I mean, he finished with a losing record overall, but I
he
think
did.
during the time I was in Kazakhstan, he lost most of his bouts as well. So
He
I was
did.
not very I was not a lucky charm for him.
I was really
Uh,
wondering if you were going to see like any signs or like
no.
anything, but
So I actually asked a few people while I was there because in Kazakhstan it is very similar. Because I've been to Mongolia, and so they have a very similar culture in terms of their sports. So Mongolia, their three national sports are like horse riding, wrestling, and archery, and it's pretty similar in Kazakhstan where those are like the main sports everyone does growing up. So I asked a number of people just through natural conversation talking about whatever. Whenever they bring up wrestling, I would say, "Oh, do you know
right.
sumo?" And they're like, "Oh, like well, I know what sumo is, but no, I don't know anything about it." And it's like, "Oh, well, one of your countrymen, Kim Bozan, is one of the top wrestlers," and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like they just thought it was cool, but like that was it.
That's really funny because it's
Yeah.
like I know. I mean, I guess it's not that weird, but
Mhm.
it is kind of funny to think about that. I mean, you think about our oh my god, I always draw a blank on his name. Our boy from Georgia.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Toshinoshin.
yeah, you think about Tochi, and like he's like the pride of Georgia, and like
Hmm.
you always see like all of this like fandom around him. It's
Hmm.
just funny that they kind of rally around him, but then no love for. I mean, Kimbozan, I suppose, is also not as famous of a wrestler
Yeah,
currently. He
he's
doesn't
much
have the like.
younger,
Yeah, he's a lot
not as
younger. He doesn't have
accomplished.
the right. He doesn't have the
Hmm.
pedigree that our boy Tochi
Yeah.
had. But yeah, so that's why we had no mid episode, but we are back and we are ready to
Yeah.
discuss this explosive finale.
But before we discuss sumo, let's discuss our
Yes,
beverages.
yes. Let's do that.
So, uh,
What do you got?
so I was gonna do. I'll probably depending on time of when we do the next episode. I was thinking gin and tonic, but then I
Mm,
realized I didn't have any limes. So next time I'll do gin because my sister bought me some good gin from Okinawa, and so I'd like to try
ooh.
that out. But so I've had one of these already. This is a different flavor, so yuzu lager.
Oh
Um,
yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, last time you had what was it, plum or something?
yeah, so it's plum. So
Yuzu,
yeah,
very nice.
brewed with Kochi Umarimura yuzus from Hokkaido Brewing, so from the north.
Oh,
Um, so last time it's a fruit beer, and last time it was quite smooth. It was like a slightly carbonated fruit juice almost. So
excellent. Well,
back to you, Pat.
I also went beer, but I went with. I'm going to be honest with you. It was last minute. I had to go to Trader Joe's this morning to get my groceries, and I was like, they have to have something there that's from Japan.
Mhm.
And turns out they have the old classic. I also
Oh,
went
there we go.
Hokkaido. Not only do I love a Sapporo, but there's something about these cans, the big, they're like so
Hmm.
thick and like meaty, and it's
Shaped a
just,
bit like a pint glass.
which is, yeah, totally. But it's funny, you don't really see these in Japan at all.
Yeah,
Like I don't think we ever saw these in Japan. And really, they only have the normal cans or the tall boys. They don't have these like curved ones. I think it maybe is only an American thing.
I don't want to say
Um,
I mean I don't want to specifically say like I remember not seeing them because I also wasn't looking for it.
Right, that's true. But also, interesting fact: this was actually made in Vietnam. Funny enough,
Hmm.
so maybe it is something that they brew this can for different audiences because um, it's I don't I mean there's no Japanese even on this can, which is
Yeah.
interesting. Um, so there you go.
All right. Well, let's crack these bad boys open. And
Oh my god,
these
I almost
beers have
cut
a
my
pull
finger off.
tab, so that's fun.
Oh, that is kind of fun. I almost just hurt myself, but we're okay.
Well, that's expected with you.
Indeed. Well, welcome back, my friends,
Yeah. Thank
and
you. Good to be back.
kampai.
Come by.
Oh, that's delicious.
Hmm. That's really good. Ooh.
Strong yuzu or
No,
subtle
it's
yuzu?
not strong and subtle. So it's what makes it strong is there's a little bit of a I don't want to say it's almost like a bit of I thought it was going to be spice, but it's like a
Mm.
really short, distinct like kick of flavor, and then that's it. So it's very smooth, and there's like a bit of kick of flavor, and then it's immediately gone again. So it's
I like
very
that because yuzu
very
can be a
interesting.
little overpowering
Hmm.
sometimes, so that's kind of nice to have it more subtle. I mean, and obviously, we've had many a Sapporo in our time. It's
Yeah,
always delicious.
yeah,
I think Japanese macro lagers are probably some of my
yeah.
favorites. Just you can't go
Nice,
wrong. So
nice. All right,
get into it.
let's get into it. So I don't necessarily have like a specific order of we're talking about like ranks of people or days. I
Yeah,
just going through my notes here.
yeah. Let's
Uh,
start with like I know you wanted to start with kind of talking about some specific fights from the last 15 days.
yeah, so yeah, before I get into that, the one
Oh,
first thing, no, we will though, but just what I noticed in each
hmm,
fight, I think he's actually on your fantasy team, Ono Sato. Uh, every
yes.
fight he's in, he does this little like drive through where every time he pushes someone out of the ring, he kind of takes like a few more steps still in.
He kind of like finishes it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you notice every other wrestler they're pushing, and then they have like a last push, and they kind of
Yeah.
like strut. Whereas he is still like in like an athletic stance and like does a few more steps, and like you can see his arms pushing. So I wonder if that's like a follow. If that's a follow through that his coaching has just like embedded into him to be like because you see in other sports like the follow through and it's you just keep going even when you know it's over you just keep it going just because so many times we've seen a guy's at the ropes and it looks like one final push out's all it's going to take, but then they're able to get out of it and keep going. So I wonder if it's just something that's been drilled into him of, hey, don't stop. It's just something interesting because I don't see anyone else doing that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I always wonder about those things because they all, now that we've been really intensely watching it for the last couple of years, we've really started to pick up on a lot more of these details.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wonder about all those things and like how thought out they are. Like we all know each wrestler has their own pre-ritual. We've talked about that
Mm-hmm.
before. The things they do and like their little nuances. And I would love to someday interview a sumo wrestler and
Mm-hmm.
see like, okay, like are these like when you start doing sumo, do you sit down and you're like, all right, like what's my signature little things gonna be? Or is it like or is it something like you said where it's kind of like you're taught by your coach and then you kind of get through
Mm-hmm.
it? Or is it something that just kind of like naturally develops? I don't know. And actually, on that note, just in terms of pre-game rituals, I've been noticing. I think we talked about Atami Fuji before in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
his pre-game little hops
Little.
that he does,
Mm-hmm.
which were just adorable and I love. But I had never really noticed it. Maybe you noticed it, but we all know that he is from the same stable as the Yokozuna, and the Yokozuna
Does a couple steps as
he
well.
does
He
the
does
same
a
thing
couple
too.
hops.
It's not as dramatic. It's not as like as
Mm-hmm.
like playful, but he
Mm-hmm.
does the same thing. So to me, like I love that because I see that as like a kind of like a he does it as kind of like an homage to his like
Could
his
be
master that he
sumo
like
see,
is
sumo
under.
do.
That's kind of what I think. But
Mm-hmm.
I started to notice that this time, and I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I noticed that as well. Maybe just because I mean we haven't actually seen them in the same Basho because Teruno
Yeah, that's
Fuji's been out
true.
and
Oh
Atami
yeah,
Fuji's
right,
been only come up last 6 months. Well, that we've really seen.
right. No, that's totally true.
Yeah, but back to the like pre-fight ritual. I mean, I think it's something that develops naturally just because in so many other sports, like before a place kick, from my time, like playing rugby, I was never a kicker, but I watched professional rugby, and each kicker, before they're lining up to take a penalty kick, they will have an exact number of things they do. Like one guy,
Hmm.
George Farrell, he stares the ball and then he stares at the posts, and it's been the exact same number of times going back and forth in his entire career that he does. That he goes like, and
Right.
then he steps forward and kicks it. So I think it's what they just develop to get comfortable doing
Yeah.
their move, because for for these high level athletes, getting that 100% comfortable, ready to go, anything that takes them out of it, could shake them, and then they'll shank a kick, or in sumo be caught off guard, like what we saw when Atami Fuji went up against Takakeisho.
Right.
When he jumped early, he was a little jumpy, and so Takakeisho was like, okay, I know what I can do here. So he kind of knew he was off his game maybe a little bit. So yeah,
It's
it's just something you see
yeah.
develop in sports.
No, you do. You see it everywhere. I mean, you see it like I think it's every sport. Like I had an appreciation for it when I watched the Netflix like quarterback documentary, and you start to see like I mean that fell into the round of superstition, but it's the same kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing about like these routines and like you said, like especially a sport like sumo, it can be so repetitive. Obviously, I mean each match is different, but it can be so repetitive. But you see them like get into their zone and they do their thing that gets them in the mindset. So no, I didn't
Yeah,
really I didn't really notice the Onosanto follow through, but now that you think about it, that's a good point.
yeah.
I
Go
like
back.
that.
Yeah, watch a few of
I'll
them.
have to go rewatch.
But yeah, so just a few specific fights throughout that really stood out to me that I was taking notes. Day 5, there were a bunch of good ones. So Tamawashi driving out Mitakiyumi. This one
Ah,
really, this one stood out to me because it was just. I think if there was any American football offensive line coaches watching this one, it would have brought a tear to their eye, because for the offensive line, the guys who are either protecting the quarterback or the running back, like they
right,
get underneath and try to get their hands underneath the guy's chest and just drive straight forward.
right.
And that's exactly what Tamawashi did. Just got under there and just drove him straight back, like extended, just one constant push throughout. And it just stood out to me. And I was like, man, yeah. Um,
No, I love that.
Really
I mean, the
reminded me of like a
technical.
strong offensive lineman, basically. So
Yeah, I
that was a
mean,
fun one.
that's great to see. I mean, yeah, like he. I mean, like since we're on it, I might as well talk about it really quick. But just in general, Tamawashi, I think,
Mm-hmm.
since we're on the Tamawashi train, you and I have been
Mm-hmm.
fans for a while. Obviously, I mean, I think he had a great overall showing. I mean, I know he finished
8-7, yeah.
8-7, which is like strong for him. He had some really good bouts. I thought him versus Terano Fuji near the end was an epic bout too. Well, that was one of my favorite ones because
Mm-hmm.
it was like with the Yokozuna being back, we saw him just steamroll over so many people day after day, and that was one of the ones where I felt like it was a really good match. Like it was a really good pairing, and he really held his
Mm-hmm.
own. And it was cool to see someone that's almost he'll be 40 soon. We'll have a 40-year-old wrestler in the ring very soon. 39-year-old wrestler standing up. So yeah, I thought overall just like you really see his his his
Longevity.
time, yeah, his longevity and like his skill and his ability and like his athleticism. It's so cool to see.
I think one of the reasons he's lasted so long, so to speak, is he didn't start doing sumo until he was like 20 or something, right?
Oh,
Uh,
interesting. Yeah.
it's he was his sister was living in Tokyo, and he came to visit her when he was like
Huh.
20, and you know a coach basically saw him and talked him into doing sumo there. He was doing like catering. He was a
What?
caterer
That's
beforehand.
amazing.
So it's either he was catering or his sister was doing a catering course, but
Yeah.
catering was somehow involved in
Was he still
him.
huge at the time,
Well, I
or?
mean, his height doesn't change,
Yeah,
but
that's true.
where I was getting with that is that he probably, because of that, he didn't, he may not have come in with a lot of other injuries that younger guys
Hmm.
have
That's an
from
interesting point.
doing this sport. So, whereas a lot of other guys may have nagging injuries or issues,
Right.
he really kind of started when he was already older. So, maybe that probably helped his longevity.
Oh, that's an
But
interesting point. Yeah. No, always love to see it.
Yeah, but a couple other fights from day five. Daisho throwing out Wakamoto Haru, who Wakamoto Haru had a great Basho, but
Sure
Daisho
did.
really kind of, someone. I feel like every time we mention him, we say, "Oh, we need to talk about this guy more," and kind of here's one of the
We
reasons
do.
why he's a great fighter. Um,
Yeah, I think he had. I mean, that match in particular was epic, and he also just had a great. I mean, 9-6 had a
mhm,
really good showing. I feel like the crowd always gets excited for him, and like I said, you said he's kind of one of those ones that has flown a little bit under our radar because we can only follow so many guys. But
mhm,
definitely, like this tournament, I really realized him or recognized him a lot more than I had in the
mhm.
past, for sure.
Um, Kind of one of the earlier fights here, still day five. Katona Waka
Mm,
showing versatility against Urin. It was kind of a good omen of how the rest of his Basho would go. Like multiple times, Ura had the upper hand against him,
yeah,
driving him to the ropes or to the straw, and Katona Waka managed to flip it, get out of there. I mean, Ura was persistent. Kind of, it was like I think 2 or 3 times he got the upper hand, got the advantage, and
he's always
Katona Waka,
persistent.
yeah, and Katona Waka managed to flip it and win the fight. So that was good and kind of a like I said an omen, a taster of how the rest of the Basho would go for Katona Waka. Another fight.
Yeah,
I mean, kind of at this point, just day five. I wrote down a note of Atami Fuji running the gauntlet. Not surprised to get M1,
yeah,
and
he did.
that was kind of his. Unfortunately, the again the omen for how the rest of the tournament would go for him.
Yeah,
Really struggled back and forth, and he. I mean, when you're at M1 though, you're fighting all the Sanyaku guys, and so
yeah.
it's yeah,
Well, it's interesting,
tough
right?
for him.
Because we talked about this before, but it's like he obviously came out, almost won his first Basho, his first professional, or excuse me, not professional, first major league,
Mhm.
really, just explosive. But then, like you said, gets up the ranks, gets to M1, and then starts fighting all the big guys first. And he still held his own in the end. But I can't help but start to think about the same thing for Onasanto, right? I
Mhm.
mean, same thing. He comes in. This was really his debut, and he did amazing. Obviously,
Mhm.
finished 11-4, but as we know, it's kind of the same story, right? Like he
Yeah,
fought a lot of
he'll fight.
the lower ranking upper
Mhm.
tier guys, and kind of just blew through them all. So I think it'll be the kind of same thing. It'll be really interesting to
Yeah.
see how he does in the future, and these young guys as they rise to rank so quickly, if they can really maintain it.
Yeah, and then for Onosato, when he fought Terano Fuji, you know the scene from The Matrix where Neo, it's the first time to seeing if he can do the jump between buildings, and they're like, "Oh, he's about to make the jump," and they're like, "What if he makes the jump?" And they're like, "No one's ever made the jump on their first attempt." Like I was thinking that of like, what if I was like, it was like, what if he beats the Yokozuna? And then I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know if this is true, but it's like no one's ever beaten the Yokozuna on their
yeah.
Makuuchi debut.
But
And
what if?
I was like, but what if they do? I was like, just going back and forth in my mind, just like, what if he does? And then,
And then he did.
and then he did not. Terano
No,
Fuji,
he did not.
yeah, just really showed again like very decisive of
Yeah,
when you see some of these other fighters that can last long against the Yokozuna, like it
yeah.
shows how good. I mean, Ono Sato is obviously no scrub. 11
No,
and 4 did very well, especially in his debut against some of the higher ranked guys too. Um, but again, it's like goes up against the Yokozuna and Teruno Fuji just dispatched him like
yeah,
pretty easily and gave him a bit of a glare too of like
indeed.
it's like a welcome to the show like that kind of thing.
I mean, it's crazy to think about that. Like
Mhm,
you're in the top rank, and all of a sudden you're fighting this beast of a man, and it must
mhm.
be so intimidating. And just to even see him do as well as he did is always impressive. So,
Yeah, another note here, Gonayama getting his revenge on Hoshoyu
oh
because
yeah,
the last time they met was a stare down, and this time Gonayama just drove him straight out. Real, I don't
he
think
sure
anyone saw
did.
that coming because
No,
Hoshoyu is such a strong, stout dude, and Gonayama just pushed him straight out, wrecked him, and you could see the look of disbelief almost on Hoshoyu's face after that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Hoshiro is he's so serious, and he has that scowl. But like, so like it's funny because he emotes though. Like some people don't. Like you have like Taro Fuji, like he does not emote. Like he has the same face when he's getting ready, when he's fighting, when he's done, whether he won, whether he loses, he's like completely same. Whereas you have someone like Hoshoru who like when he loses, he gives that like takes that extra second to get up. He takes that little like
Mhm.
you feel it a little bit more.
We know Hoshoyu like has bad eyesight, so a lot of times he's
Right.
squinting, but just it's just when he squints, like he just looks like even tougher. But
It's
then
true.
uh, I'm wearing black in mourning because Hoshoyu's injured. So many
Yeah.
guys are injured this tournament.
Yeah, I was actually saying we should do a segment called injury report here because
There's too
there's a
many
couple
people.
ones
There's
there's a
too
couple we can
many.
talk about, but you can start with Hoshoru if
I
you
mean,
want.
Hoshoyu. Fortunately, it seems like it's not a tear. It just seems to be a pull, like or like
Thank God.
maybe a hyperextension. So hopefully that means it doesn't need surgery and he can just rest up a bit.
Yeah.
Um, and if you read, it seems like he wanted to come back, but his
Yeah.
trainer, his coach was like, no, like because he already had like winning record. I think he was already at 10 wins. Like he was
Yep.
10-2 or 10-3,
Amazing.
and just saying like, hey, it's not worth it. Like because at that point he was out of the running for the U show. I
Oh
think
yeah,
if
yeah,
he
you're
had been
done.
in there, still been in the running, he might have come back. But it was like, nope, you've had a very honorable U show like Basho so far.
Yeah, don't
Just
push it.
take a couple days off, and then you can rest up. So
Yeah, that was a big one. For me, I think honestly, in the now what, 3 years that we've been following this or whatever, I think it was actually one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch in sumo, which was Hokoto Fuji going down. And I mean,
mm,
you've talked before, we've talked a lot about like, the injuries and the sports medicine aspect of it and
mhm.
how like you think there needs to be advancements. And to me, like seeing that, man, I mean, you'll have to put the screenshot up here, but like he was fighting, man, I can't remember now. Was it Hoshoru? Yeah, I think
Mhm.
it was. He was fighting him, and he just fell like a ton of bricks. And when you
Yeah.
watch the replay, you can tell it was his leg because the injury happened, and then it was like he just lost all because it's
Mhm.
so rare that when someone falls, they're always thinking about their falling, of course, and they put their
Mhm.
arms out or they twist or they do whatever, and it's so rare to see someone just plot back. And in order for that to happen, he must have been in excruciating. And there's that overhead angle where
Mhm.
as he's going back, you just see his face like
Yeah.
fully winced. And it's just, I really love him because I love his spirit. He brings so much energy when he comes in and he gets he's so juiced and so amped. And I love seeing
Mhm.
that. So to see him go down, like it kind of hurt me.
It was, and it was, and like you said, you could see his face contorted in pain before he even started falling. So
Within milliseconds.
yeah, and for that, what really, I mean, pardon my French, pissed me off was that he was laying there
Oh yeah.
and
I know what you're going to say.
nobody came up. Like
No.
the first person to him was like the water attendant,
Yep.
and but he doesn't know what to do. And then
No.
it showed Hoshoyu who had taken a step back, like just to watch, and you could see behind him. I think as the paramedics came up, but because of over politeness, tradition, respect, whichever they stopped behind Hoshoyu because he was kind of in their way, and they didn't like try to push past him or like tap him on the shoulder. Like they just kind of stood there for. I mean, it was only a few seconds, but when you're
Yeah.
watching and you're like, hey, this guy needs help right away, it felt like an eternity just watching these guys not going to
I was
help him.
thinking the same thing, and he was literally like laying in the lap of the I can't
Right.
remember the Japanese name, but like the refs basically.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty much laying in the guy's lap, and I mean they are
The
obviously
OG.
always they're always like the guys in black. They're always just very traditionally sitting there, completely stone faced the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
and he's pretty much laying in his lap, like dying, and the guy just didn't even flinch. And again, it's like you said, it's that tradition versus a thing that is always tough, but it
Yeah.
was really tough to watch. I mean, I've never seen someone leave on a wheelchair before, so like that was a first
Yeah.
for me.
Definitely tough. And it's yeah, talking about his Hokuto Fuji spirit. I have a note here that he had I mean, I love the pre-fight slap
Yeah,
routines.
yeah.
And before he fought Teruno Fuji, he was just like
Oh my god,
he was going
on
ham.
one.
It was awesome. And so I have a
He
note
really
here.
goes for it.
Yeah, so that was good.
Yeah, I really hope for a quick recovery. And if
Yeah.
we could talk quickly, if we're doing the injury, we have to talk quickly about Takakeisho. Obviously,
Hmm.
went down real early. Only finished 2-2 for the whole thing,
Hmm.
or well 2-12, but 2-2-12. but basically immediately was out of contention. Obviously, had been struggling with injury for a while now, and I don't know how much longer he can hold on to it. It just seems like he's one of those ones that just keeps getting hit. So he's in there. You also got Hokuseiho,
Mhm.
who is an interesting. We've talked about him in the past. Not our favorite fighter. Is got an interesting style of kind of just standing there.
Mhm.
But yeah, he went down with injury, and then finally rounding out injury corner. There's actually more. You got Takayasu went down, but
I was gonna
uh,
say, yeah, it's not like
we
your
gotta
guy.
talk. We gotta say Takayasu, but I
And
think
he was on your fantasy team for this. I don't know if you
Oh, I forgot. Damn it. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. But rounding out injury corner, I gotta just throw Aoyama in there. I mean,
I know.
he's one of my favorites. I love the guy. I think him coming back. It was exciting to see him back in the top division, but I think we both kind of knew that it wasn't going to go super well, and then ended with disaster at another injury. So I was calling to think predicting that he was going to be
Yeah,
retiring soon. So I think it still stands in.
yeah, that was yeah, rough,
So
tough to
it'll be
watch. I
it'll be
agree.
interesting going into the next Basho with like
I
a
know.
lot of the top guys. I mean, I'm sure Hoshoru will bounce back quickly, but it'll be really
Yeah,
interesting to see how the other guys kind of handle it. So, but enough about
yeah,
injuries.
yep. And so, just a couple other specific things I have here.
Yeah,
Atami Fuji against Shodai was one of the best overall best fights of the Basho. Shodai kind of showing why he's the Lord of Chaos. You know, barely broke 500, barely got a winning record, but he also beat Terano Fuji. So it happened early in the beginning of the Basho or the Basho. So um, I was like, oh man, is Terano Fuji ready to come back? But then obviously, like he dominated, with the exception of losing Wakamoto Haru, like he
right.
won out and you showed. But then he like lost to Shodai, and so again, it's just Shodai. Every now and then shows flashes of why he was Ozeki, but then other times you watch and you're like, oh man, he lost to this really low ranked guy. So it's just you never know what's going to happen with Shodai,
You really don't. You really don't. He
and
always
so that's
keeps
why
showing you.
yeah, the Tommy Fuji fight was so good. I mean, they were so back and forth. They're both so strong. It was really a good spectacle of what makes sumo great. Of just like two huge strong guys trying to push each other, and it was just really fun to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed there.
Another note here, too, guys. We were talking about Hoshoyu fighting Onosato. I mean, Hoshoyu just like firmly driving him out, really
Yeah.
decisive. Like there was no doubt. It was like the reverse of when he fought Gonayama. Just gets pushed out one day, another day he's firmly driving out this young who's, and it's especially crazy because the size difference between Gonayama
Yeah.
and Onosato is like is only a little bit smaller than Terano Fuji. I mean, he's six
Right.
four. Well, actually,
Big guy.
he's the same size. He's like 6'4",
Yeah.
400 pounds,
Yeah.
and Hoshoyu is almost 90 pounds lighter and 3 inches shorter, and he was able to like push him back. And Goniyama is way smaller than that, so
Yeah. He
it's just
is.
kind of crazy that happened.
Yeah, it just shows how technique over body, like technique is not. There's just like you're not guaranteed
Mhm.
because you're a big boy. Um,
Just another note here, kind of a end of an era. So
mm,
Takara Fuji, a Makuchi journeyman, made his debut July of 2011. Back and forth in Juryo Makuchi for like a couple years, but then he has not missed a tournament in Makuchi, with the exception of the one COVID tournament that was canceled, since January of 2013. So 11 years in the top division. At
incredible.
M16 went 6-9, so he's probably dropping down to Juryo. Um, and he made during that time he made Sekiwaki Komusubi once each. Actually, what I interesting looking at his background, he made what's the lower one? Komusubi is the lower one.
Yeah.
He made Komusubi lost losing record, went back down, but then winning record again, and he jumped to Sekiwaki. So he went from
Right.
Maegashira and jumped Sekiwaki to Komusubi. Or sorry, jumped Komusubi to go to Sekiwaki, which I don't remember that. Maybe that happens more often, but just when I saw it, it kind of jumped out to me. I was like, oh, it was because he was dropped from a rank and then he jumped that Sanyaku rank. So I
Right.
never seen that jumped out as super unique and interesting to me.
That is. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It is always kind of sad when you see like Like it's like kind of end of an era. Like these guys that are just like the staples, then kind of dropping out of it. But that's the way it
Hmm.
goes.
Yeah, I mean that's just sports in general. You got these other young guys coming up who are looking good,
Indeed.
stronger, younger. And then we haven't mentioned his name yet. Kind of thought he could take it all, and people talked
Mm.
about him making a Yokozuna run, but Kirishima.
Yeah, we got to get in there. You know, I've talked about Kirishima in the past. And again, this is going to sound shallow, but you look at Terunofuji, and this guy, he just exudes Yokozuna. He's so intimidating.
Hmm.
But like I said, he doesn't change his expression. He's just like always serious, always present, always focused, and he just
Hmm.
like when he's doing the Yokozuna ceremony at the beginning of each match, it's just like it's so scary to look at
Yeah,
him. Like it's
yeah.
like this guy, and it's like, whoa, this dude's so intense. And Kirishima now is made. This was supposed to be his Yokozuna run, and I just still just don't like see it in him. Like I don't see the same like spirit, and partially it's because of his size. He's a smaller guy, like compared to Terunofuji, so it's like
Hmm.
that's part of it. I think what I can't get over, but I just don't see the spirit as much. And then obviously in the final match today, day 15, um, he just got literally picked up like a baby by
I
the
know.
Yokozuna. I mean, it wasn't even close. He
No.
literally picked him up and threw him out, and it was just like it looked like an amateur fighting with a god.
Well, here's my thoughts on because I think a lot of people feel the way you do of
Yeah,
like, oh, Kirishima could do it, but then he goes up against Terunofuji, and you're like, oh no, that's what a Yokozuna looks like. But
right.
have we? I'd say like let's say over like the last decade, have been spoiled because the last two like Yokozunas, the last Yokozuna to retire, and now this whenever Terunofuji does retire, have been Hakuho and Terunofuji. And Hakuho is the goat who holds
Yeah,
any conceivable record. He's probably got it. To go
yeah,
from Hakuho to Terunofuji, I mean, it's two of the most dominant. Not only their records, but just when you look at them, see them, like you said, their spirit. And
yeah.
so it's like, okay, are we? Because not every Yokozuna has been like that. And
Right.
so, hey, if Kirishima had come about 20 years ago,
Mm,
would he be by their standards a Yokozuna?
that's an interesting
Because
point.
just because of how good Hakuho and now Terunofuji are, of like no one can really hold a candle to them.
Yeah,
I mean, Terunofuji drops the occasional bout, as we've seen. Hakuho really didn't do that.
yeah.
But even still, yeah, it's Kirishima was looking good. People were talking about a rope run, and then just gets absolutely demolished. And you're like,
Yeah, it's
so I
tough.
don't
I
know.
mean, but like you said, it like that's a good point because it's like maybe he does make a comeback in the next couple Bashos, and he does make a go for it, and it's kind of like a new era of Yokozuna. I mean that's totally
Mm-hmm.
possible. I just like he just can't put it away. He just can't put it away. I mean, finishing 11-4, obviously a great record, but like when you're looking for that finale, it's like
Yeah,
it's just not there yet. So
yeah. I hear
it's
you saying,
interesting.
but it could be like I said, Terunofuji holding everyone else back because he's just that good. Because you go up against Kotono Waka, people are talking like this is his Ozeki run. So I mean,
Yeah.
that'd be great to see Kotono Waka as an Ozeki.
I think
Um,
definitely. I for sure see it for him. I
and
thought he
could
had an incredible bout show.
yeah, and the playoff, Kotono Waka looked good. I mean, it was back and forth. He got a belt hold
Yeah.
kind of right off the bat. Terunofuji got out of it and won, but Kotono Waka really held his own more.
I
Like
mean, yeah, way better than Kirishima did.
yeah, after Terunofuji just wrecked Kirishima, I was like, all right, let's see how Kotono Waka does. But I mean, Kotono Waka did very well. He's really like the last year, Kotono Waka has just really elevated his
Exploded.
game. So
And if I may say, the best eyebrows in the game, Kotonowaka.
yeah,
he's
so
got he's got this like great like
mhm.
pre-game ritual that I love.
And normally his face is very like impassive,
Yeah.
but in the coverage today, I mean,
Stepped it up.
he got hyped for the before the fight against Terunofuji. He was getting
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you could see he
yeah.
was really getting. So I was excited. I really like that because I haven't seen that out of Katona Waka. So
No,
that
not
that
like
was
that.
cool to see. Um, yeah.
Well,
So
Well, I'll go through really quickly. I just have like one. Well, okay, I really just have one thing I want to talk
Hmm.
about in terms of specific people, but it wouldn't be a podcast if I didn't talk about Ura.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously, rank number one.
Or Komusubi, yeah.
Excuse me, not one, Kamasubi, which was just awesome to see him at that rank. You know, started off real rough.
Hmm.
He ended up finishing 6-9, which is totally respectable. Obviously, not great, middle of the pack, bottom of the pack, really,
Hmm.
but um, as we always say, he had to fight all the big boys immediately, and they
Yeah.
just ran through him. And I think he still got some place to learn. But
Hmm.
so you texted me this morning, and you were like, "There's one match today that you're gonna jump out of your seat for,"
Hmm.
and I knew it was probably gonna be Ura because obviously I'm a big Ura fan. And it's funny because I knew it was gonna be something special. So obviously today was day 15, and he goes up against uh, Shodai,
Hmm.
and starts off. They're grappling, and then he gets down in that position, right? And
Hmm.
you're watching him, and or loves turning around. He loves flipping. He loves doing
Yeah,
crazy
you
things. So
you start seeing him start to do
you see him
this.
go. He does his thing, and you turn around, and I know you also texted me and said you didn't think it was possible to predict, but I think just because you had warned me that something crazy was going to happen in my head, I was like,
Hmm.
oh shit, he's about to do something crazy. And then of course on the final day he pulls the Tsu Tai Zori, which
Hmm.
is the basically like arm like
Like
single
the
arm like back throw essentially, is what it is. And it was just like it's a super rare move. Like if
yeah.
you look it up, we've talked about it before, but if you look it
Mhm.
up in Wikipedia or whatever, like he's the picture for it. There's no one doing
Yeah.
this move really, and
Well,
and,
because
and
he did it a few months ago. We
he
spoke
did.
about it, but then the last, I think, what was it, the last time it happened was like 2016 or 2017,
Yeah,
and now he's done
it's
it twice in like 4 months.
it's just crazy because it's crazy that his signature move is becoming this bizarre move.
The
But
back,
I just love it.
more commonly known as the back twisty toshi throw,
Yes, that is the technical name.
the technical
Um,
Japanese term.
he, yeah, it was just like, like I said, I got a little down just seeing him not really succeed.
Uh-huh.
But again, knowing it was a growing year, but then just seeing him bring that Ura charm on the final day and do
Yeah.
something crazy, and the fans just went nuts in the stadium. Like that's just something I love. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, and then we can move on because I know we're running pretty long here, but that's okay. Is I think we have to talk quickly about the Tobizaru versus Terano Fuji. I can't remember what day, but it was like earlier in the tournament. There was a match between Tobizaru,
Day
who
six.
D6, thank you, Tobizaru, who I have coined the bad boy of sumo. Um, he's I think we can agree he has some attitude. He's got a little bit
Hmm.
of an attitude. He's got a little bit of a swagger. He's got a crazy style. He's super fast, super crazy, super
Hmm.
scrappy. Um, During his match with the Yokozuna, he I believe twice attempted to sweep the
Hmm.
leg
Yeah,
of the Yokozuna, which
just
oh
made him angrier.
it made him real angry. But like in Toby's defense, it's a completely legal move. It's totally
Yeah.
fine. He wasn't doing anything wrong, but some could see it as a sign of disrespect and whatever to someone who's injured. But in my book, a move's a move, and if it's in the book, it's in the book.
Yeah.
And he throws him out, and the Yokozuna just gives him this extended stare. And it was just epic because again,
Yeah.
you don't really see the Yokozuna like doing
Hmm.
that. You don't really see him like emoting or really doing anything. But it was this moment of like putting him in his place.
Yeah.
That was just like pretty legendary.
Yeah, I agree. That was yeah, definitely kind of showed again why he's the Yokozuna.
Yeah,
Almost
that
seemed like
was
just like what are you trying to pull, man?
yeah.
That's you don't do that against me.
Yeah, that was a standout.
A couple other quick notes before we go into our fantasy calculations here.
Yeah,
So, uh, special prizes.
yeah.
Wakamoto Haru got the Shukan Show outstanding performance for going 10-5. Also defeating Terano Fuji. Um,
Indeed.
Ono Sato got the Fighting Spirit Prize, 11-4 in his debut, so good to
Epic.
see. And then Katona Waka got the Ginosho Technique Prize for his variety of winning sumo techniques, so that's good to see as well.
I love that. Yeah, he was so awesome. It was so
Yeah,
great to see him dominating like that. It was so
yeah.
cool.
So Katona Waka going to the playoff, winning its the technique prize. I think we'll see him as an Ozeki. That'd be cool
I
to
think
see.
so too, man. And that means
Mhm.
what? Four, five Ozekis? Four?
It'll be four
Four.
because I think Takayasu is going to be dropping now.
Yeah, I think so too.
Takakesho might as well. I don't know if Takakesho will, but
Yeah,
either way, it's going to open
that
up.
is definitely true.
Going to be a strong Ozeki class for the rest of the year. Looks like, and then talking about the lower divisions, Juryo Takeru Fuji won at 12-3. He was J10, so hopefully he'll bump up to Makuchi, but at J10 we'll see. Other Juryo notables, Nishifuji at J2 went 10-5, Kitanawaka 10-5 at J3, and then Roga went 9-6 at J3 as well. So those probably expecting to see those guys
Yeah,
making their Makuchi returns in March.
definitely.
Wakataka Kage won Makushita, going perfect 7-0. So
Yeah.
he's going to bump up to Juryo, and then Hakuoho's back from his recovery.
I feel like that was fast, but I
Yeah,
guess
he
he's young,
was.
so I don't
Mhm.
know.
He went 6-1 at Makushita 5,
Hmm.
so hopefully he'll be going back up to Juryo, and that would be great if by May, July, both of these guys are back up
Yeah,
in um,
definitely
Makuchi.
very
So
realistic.
okay, so let's do our fantasy. You gonna
Yeah, let's do
all
it.
right? Let's see. So I have my
All right. Do you
okay.
have who we picked from the last time?
I do.
All right. Well, I have
Here's
the
what I'm
points.
gonna.
I have the points here. So if you want to read the names, I can read the points.
Okay, so first for you. Oh
No,
dang! I thought
God.
no. This is good. First, use Katona Waka.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So Kantona Waka had a resounding 13 points.
Okay, so um, the scoring system +1 Kachikoshi, +2 11 and plus wins, +5 if they win the tournament. So Katona Waka gets
I
you two
forgot
points
about that.
there. Midori Fuji.
Yeah. Midori Fuji, not a best showing. We didn't really talk about him, but again, I think just struggling with being ranked M2.
Mhm.
5-10 for Midori Fuji.
Okay,
So not
so 0.
not great. That's a zero.
Onosato.
Onosanto obviously did again fantastic. Same thing, 11-14. Same or not same, right below Kotonowaka, but 11-14 for Onosanto.
11-4, not 14,
Excuse me,
but
11-4 indeed.
okay,
Yes.
nice. I thought he
So
was 10-5 for some reason. And then
I will
um,
take that.
Takayasu was out. So
Yeah, didn't yeah, that was rough. That was a rough one to see, but yeah,
okay.
so that's not
Um,
great. Not great.
for me, I had Kirishima.
Kirishima, obviously incredible run,
Mhm.
11-4.
Okay, so that's two.
Mm-hmm.
Atami Fuji.
Tommy Fuji, as you know, he had 6-9.
Yeah,
So yeah,
0.
that's a zero right there.
Meisei.
Meisei, which was your wild card choice,
Mhm.
did do actually quite well with a 9-6.
Okay, so there we go. And then Hoshoyu.
Ho Sho Yu, 10-4. Or excuse me,
Hmm.
10-2. So either way,
Okay, well, we are tied. Four
are you
points each. Yeah,
serious? Oh
yeah.
God, we didn't talk
We,
about what
we, we didn't
we
discuss.
do. There's no plan. There's no plan here.
I think the plan now then
We
is
should wrestle.
the next tournament. Yeah, is we have to fight. No, the next. How about this? The next tournament's double or nothing. So
Oh shit. Okay, I like that.
whoever wins, whoever loses the next one has to buy the winner like two drinks.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good plan. Yeah,
Okay.
and for me, I mean, kind of closing thoughts here. I mean, we talked about Terano Fuji the entire time, on and off,
Mhm.
but we never like really gave him the full minute. I just got to spend like 1 minute.
Yeah, yeah, of
I
course he
think we
deserves.
got to do
He's
it.
earned
Just
it.
talk. Yeah, and so we saw him play in May of last year, and we saw him win. We were there on day 14, so the second to last day, and we saw him effectively win the tournament. And it was so epic. And then he was out for however many Bashos it's been since then, three.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, he came back home for a few days for one of them, and then
he
back
came back
down.
for a few days, so there's been so many questions, obviously, about his returning, and we can't end this without saying how incredibly impressive it was for this guy that's injured and just absolutely dominating. I mean,
Yeah.
2 losses, obviously, but just like uh, every pretty much every round he fought, there was no contention. There's like this new angle that we watch on the replays. I feel like it's relatively new, where it's kind of like this side angle, and they play it back in like regular speed, and I like it because it's like one of the replay views, and so you kind of really get to see the power of it. And when you see that angle, it's just like of him, it's just like the speed, the energy, the power that he has.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy. So
No, I
I just
agree.
had to bring it up because it was just so cool to see him come back and just like prove that he still very much got it.
Absolutely. It was yeah, very fun Basho, especially yeah for him. I mean, so I think going into it, we like one of the things we talked about was like, oh, does he has he still got it?
Indeed,
Coming back from injury, and yeah, he still got it.
he still got it.
If anything, he became stronger as it went on.
I,
Whereas
I think he looks stronger than he ever has.
I mean, the second week, first week compared to the second week, he looked totally dominating. Compared the first week, it was iffy. Lost 2 bouts, and some of the other were close ones. But the second week was dominant from him. So kind
Indeed,
of just getting the rust off and just crushing it.
pretty cool. Very cool to see. So,
All right, man.
looking forward to the March tournament
March,
right
yeah,
around the corner. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll
yeah,
do kind of a
mid
mid break
break, yeah,
mid break cast, and kind of talk about what's in line for March. And
yeah.
yeah, looking forward to it as always. It's just never a dull moment in the sumo
Sound
world.
sounds good, man. Well, that's all I have. And if you stuck with us this long, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
You're the best.
All right, yeah, you are. All right, take care.
Have a good one. See you next time, guys.
See y'all.